All right, welcome to the Overclockers UK workshop, and welcome to a brand new content series on the official PC Building Simulator YouTube channel. I am JVN. I guess I've never really introduced myself, but I run the YouTube channel JVN Gaming, and I have played PC Building Simulator a lot, and I've recorded a lot of videos of it. And I've had a lot of fun. We played some esports expansion, played the campaign, done a ton of free build, a bunch of cool builds, and really kept up with the game's development. And now I get to make some official videos for the PC Building Simulator YouTube channel, which is so awesome, and I am so excited to show you guys some builds. So this is going to be the free build extreme content arc. So we are going to do a bunch of stuff in free builds. We're going to make some really awesome dream machines, some purpose-built computers for different people. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. It's going to be a ton of fun. So be sure to subscribe if you want to see those videos coming up. And yeah, let's just jump into what we're going to do today. So just to give you a little bit of context, PC Building Simulator recently got updated to version 1.9, which brought us the formidable RTX 3090, which we can just take a peek. We just take a little peek here. We've got the Ventus version and the Gaming X Trio, so both obviously MSI cards. We have two 3090s. No 3080s yet, but we have 3090s. And then in 1.9.5, which is what we're on right now, we got Ryzen's new 5000 series CPUs. So if we go down to, I can't remember. We actually have this new filter thing, which is also very cool. So we could do a few things here. We could just go socket. We could, well, we're just going to do that because I don't actually know how to find it exactly. But we got two new Ryzen CPUs, the 5900X, which is the 12-core, 24-thread version, and then the 5950X, the big boy, the 16-core, 32-thread CPU from Ryzen's 5000 series of CPUs, and it's kind of like the ultimate time to be a gamer in some ways. If you, if you can afford it, and two, even if you can't afford it, if you can actually find the parts, because it's extremely hard to find these parts right now, but not in this game. Fortunately, we've got them right here. We've got as many as we want. So today we're gonna make the ultimate 8K gaming machine. I'm saying that because NVIDIA's been big on 8K and saying that it's a a big deal. I don't know if it's a big deal necessarily, but we're gonna play along, and we're gonna make the ultimate gaming machine for 8K, or really any resolution under 8K. Just picture higher frame rates at lower resolutions. So we're gonna we're gonna get started and find us a case. Now I've been looking around a little bit at cases, and I did a little bit of planning for this one, and we are going to go with the Colink Big Chungus, because one, it's hilarious and awesome and gigantic and crazy, and we're building the ultimate gaming PC, so we want all those things. But also, because it's pretty big, it's going to give us some flexibility with what we do as far as running SLI with two 3090s is a little tricky, especially because there aren't a ton of motherboards that have enough slots to do it and do it well, and I'll explain that a little bit as we move forward. For now, I'm just going to pull these panels apart. I do have I've got a couple of the quick tools on in free build, just in case you have not played this. There are free build options, so there's auto connect, quick screw, quick cable. Actually, turn quick cable off. I think I'm going to leave it off because it's kind of fun, but I also have the auto screw tool, the faster installation, auto cable. So that's why some of these things are coming off really fast. If you don't have those, you have to manually remove them. But I like to turn them on for this. Otherwise, we spend a lot of time watching me turn screws. So first of all, I'm going to pull all of the fans out. We're going to basically pull this whole thing apart, because we're going to be replacing a lot of things. Now, we aren't going to be able to water cool the graphics cards, obviously, because there are not water cooled variants of the 3090 in the game yet, but hopefully eventually, hopefully soon. We are going to go with Ryzen's we're going to go with the new Ryzen chips, right? So we are going to go with X570. Let me just type that wrong. X570 for the motherboard to support the AM4 chipset and but it'll be the best thing to support the 5000 series of motherboard. Chipset, sorry. So I mentioned that slot spacing is a little bit of an issue with the 3090 being able to run it in SLI, because we are going to run the 3090 in SLI. You can't do that with the 3080 or 3070. Not that they're in the game, but if they were. 3090 is the only one that's doing SLI this year on the NVIDIA side. So for that reason, as far as motherboards go, this is really the board I wanted to use anyway, because the MSI Meg X570 Godlike is truly godlike, and it is an absolute beast, and it better be, because it's $700. But that's going to give us 4 slots, which is going to give us the slot spacing that we are going to want to use the good bridge between the GPUs. Actually, just let me show you the bad bridge? I have this computer in here. Yes, this one. That's the bad bridge. It's a piece of tape. It's a piece, it might even be a Band-Aid, I'm not really sure. But if you cram the cards together like this, which also would be inadvisable because they'll suffocate for sure, absolutely that top card it's probably dead at this point. And you'll get that dorky looking Band-Aid. So that's also why I wanted to have a motherboard with some more spacing, because I don't want to have a Band-Aid on the ultimate 8K gaming PC. So, okay, let's jump in. Processor. Please clear, thank you. We will go fits this PC. That only shows us the compatible parts. We're gonna scroll all the way down, and we're gonna go to the 5950X, the big boy, because we can, because it's the ultimate, because we're going way over the top. The 5900X would be an excellent gaming CPU, and AMD is definitely pitching it as a very good gaming CPU, and it is. But we're gonna go 5950X, because $1,100 doesn't matter. It's fake money, I don't care. We've also got 3 M.2 drive bays on this motherboard. I'm just like opening, closing all of them. This motherboard, because it's an X570, does support PCIe Gen 4, which is super cool, I guess. It kind of helps us more storage than anything. Like, NVIDIA's new graphics cards do technically support it, but the thing, what I've seen is that the benefits aren't super tangible. So ideally, I would love, if we turn off fits the CPU or PC, I would love to put some of these. There are some PCIe Gen 4 M.2 drives in the game. Like this is one from Corsair. You can see Gen 4 PCIe, and you've got a 4,600 megabyte per second transfer rate. The problem is we can't fit them. Doesn't fit because they don't fit underneath the covers on the motherboard. So we're gonna go with the next best thing, which is not Gen 4, sadly, but it is gonna be still pretty darn fast, 3250 megabytes per second. The ADATA XPG Spectrix 2 S40G RGB M.2, and we're going with a 2 terabyte, and we get to do 3 of them. So we'll do one there, we'll cover it up, we'll do one here, and we'll cover that, and we'll do one right here. So that gives us 6 terabytes of M.2 NVMe, crazy, stupid fast storage. That's like magical. And we've also got room for expansion on this case as well. We've got a drive bay back here. You can put, I think you can put maybe standard size, like 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch. I'm not actually sure, but we could put more drives in this. We're not going to. We'll leave that, you know, for future expansion in our little world that we've concocted here. Okay, so we're gonna move. I want to make sure I get the thermal paste on the CPU. It's easy to forget that. Don't forget that. And then with this build, we are going to go with water cooling on the CPU. We can't do it on the GPU, but we're gonna do it on the CPU. So let's make compatible again. I'm gonna do the Radeon Tech block because it looks kind of cool. And I think we are going to do some RGB on this build, so we'll get a little bit of RGB there too. And I like the inlet and outlet being in line like that. It can make the loop look kind of nice. So we're going to go with that. I guess we could go ahead and start getting our radiator and reservoir installed. We could also be throwing our graphics cards in at this point. Actually, I'm just going to skip all the things I just said, and we're going to put RAM in. So we're just talking through all the situations we're not going to do, I guess. Okay, let's go to memory. So we're going to grab the fastest kit in the game, which is a 4800 megahertz kit of Trident Z RGB 8 gig variant. And so we're going to get 32 gigs total of this stuff. And what's really great is this motherboard can handle the speed of this RAM. It maxes out at 5,000 megahertz is what the spec says. And we can, even through overclocking, push this a bit faster. So we're going to go with that RAM. It's really kind of the best RAM as far as performance in the game. It's going to get you the highest 3D Mark scores if you're into that sort of thing. Let's get our graphics cards going. I'm just going to pull up a couple of the covers for now because I can't remember. Okay, so that's how number 1's going to sit. And then number 2, we're going with the Gaming X Trio, by the way. It has higher clock speeds. From the factory, it's a little bit nicer, so we're going to go with that. The Ventus is not quite as spec'd out. And then we're going to remove these bottom, or wait, no. We're going to remove these two, I think. I think that's right. Yeah. And there you go. Now we're going to get the good bridge. See? Good bridge. It doesn't look like a Band-Aid. It's because we got that little bit of spacing. Also, the top 3090 is like, thank you, Lord. I was gonna melt for sure if you didn't give me some air. It still will get fairly hot, actually. It's interesting. There's a little bit of variation between the temperatures on those graphics cards when we start running it. But that will be much better. So let's also get a power supply in here. We're going to need something pretty beefy. We've got the two most power-intensive power-hungry graphics cards in the game. And the CPU, it's pretty thirsty too. It's not a Threadripper. Those ones are extremely thirsty, but still, yeah, gonna be pretty thirsty. Okay, so we've got our CPU, we've got our graphics, we've got our RAM, we've got a CPU block, we've got power supply. So we're looking pretty good here. We should get working on our cooling. So let's go ahead and we'll talk through the water cooling part of this. So now what I would love to do is take this 480 rad from Corsair, which were one of the more recent additions to the game, and I'd love to stick that up here. I want to so bad, but it's going to collide with our gigantic graphics cards. And also, when we mount the reservoir, which I'm going to go with the RGB version of EK's, we're going to stick that here. It would also run into that. So we could do like the little ice block thing from Alpha Cool, probably. This little ice station, it's so cute. And we probably fit it, but we're not going to get these graphics cards in here with a gigantic radiator front, sadly. Now, if there were slim radiators in the game, potentially, but it's not going to happen. So I'm going to go with a radiator up top, and we're going to stick with the RGB thing we got going here. And I guess we can look at all the RGB versions. It's basically just EK, and then Raging Tech has these super thick boys. They have no chance of fitting in here, I don't think. Actually, no, we're not. I don't think so. I think it's going to run. Yeah, they're super thick, like crazy thick. Thick with like 6 or 7 Cs. We're just going to stick that up here. Yeah, that's good. I like that. And then we're going to do some more RGB because it's the ultimate gaming build. Like, the more RGB, the more FPS. Everyone knows that. It's a proven fact. You can ask anyone. We're going to go with Corsair's HD 120 RGB, and we're going to do a bunch of them. We're going to do one back there. We're going to do 4 of them up front. All the RGB. If you don't like RGB, I am sorry. You could turn it off. We could also make this wet. Oh, okay, we gotta change our order of operations a little bit there. No problem. It's all fine. No one panic. I've planned for this. I had to plan this build a little bit because I actually ran into a lot of problems. So originally, when I built this, I was like, I wanted to build it in the Cooler Master Mastercase H500P. Specifically, I wish they had the mesh version because it's actually a really great case for airflow. And like if I was building a gaming rig, I'd be all like a super good gaming rig. I'd be all about the airflow. But the problem is that this board had issues with fan headers being up top and things mounting up top. And so I ended up switching to this one, and it's working much better. But it's too bad because it would have been beautiful. So okay, we've got our radiator up top. That's just going to be for the CPU, obviously. That would not be enough to cool the GPUs as well. So it's a good thing it's only the CPU. We got all our fans installed. We've basically got everything ready. We can just now, we're going to run the actual piping. And in PC Building Simulator, if you haven't played, we've got options for flexible piping. We've got options for rigid piping. Flexible piping is really convenient, but also when you're in a case like this and things are complicated, it's probably, wow, it actually did it. I tried this earlier and it was like, no, it is not possible. I will not do it for you. So I'm sort of like, that's neat that it did that for me. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to do it anywhere. We're going to go with rigid piping. So that means we'll actually have to bend the tubes ourselves. Probably going to go with black for the fittings. And we're going to do a little bit of a cooling loop here. So we're going to go here to here. Actually, I'll just explain it because I'm not going to show you because it's going to take me a while to bend it because this case is at an angle. I don't know if you can tell. It's at an angle. Yeah, you can tell. It's at an angle. So the snapping feature that snaps things horizontally or vertically, it doesn't work. And so everything about making cooling loops look pretty is more difficult in this case. So I'm going to do it off camera and you guys can see it after I'm done. But the plan will be radiator to CPU, CPU to reservoir, reservoir back to radiator. That's going to be the loop. And I'm going to try to run probably up and around, we're going to kind of frame it a little bit like this, and then we're going to frame, and we're going to frame. And so it's going to go straight up out of the CPU, straight down out of the CPU block. It's going to look good. In my brain, it looks good. I guess we'll see how it is in real life. But I'm going to do that now, and we'll be back when it's done. So just got one more bend left to go here. If you just want to see how this works, if you haven't really played, you basically start, you end, and then you clean up the mess. So for this one, so I got a kind of nice looking thing going, I think. It looks pretty good. I kind of want to go like up here and then frame the whole situation. And so something like sort of like this. Again, it's a little tricky to clean it up. And I kind of like right angles. So I tend to, well, in a normal case, there's a lot of the snapping is super great and it helps me a ton because it snaps to angles that I want. Here it will tend to kind of snap in directions that I don't want. So, but look at this. I can like create this magical arch of liquid cooling. It's a liquid cooling arch, really. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of clean up some of these angles, and then we should be ready to roll here. Okay, so I think I'm pretty happy with that. We've got our arch of magical liquid cooling. I don't even know what's going on. But yeah, we've got a pretty nice looking loop here. I think it'll look cool once we fill it with coolant. So let's do... We can't do that now because, well, we have to cable everything together. So yeah, let's do that. And like I said, I didn't have the auto cable tool on, so we'll have to do this all manually. So each of these graphics cards has 3 power connectors, which is going to be pretty insane. I think I'm just going to go with gray cables. What's great, also we could do tons of different custom cables. Ooh, maybe we could do cyan. I'm such a sucker for cyan. Cyan, let's try cyan. Yeah? Yeah. Oh yeah, so good. I don't know why. Okay, oh my gosh. So yeah, it's gonna take a little while here because we got lots of cables to connect. Each graphics card, like I said, has 3, which is pretty crazy. The Founders 3090 does not do that, but a few of the AIBs do that. So we'll be daisy chaining. Oh, we do have a fan hub on this case, which is super nice. A little co-link fan hub around the back, which is really helpful because getting enough headers to connect fans can actually be pretty challenging in this game. So we'll do a little bit of daisy chaining there. We're basically just daisy chaining that first fan to the radiator and then all these fans to the fan next to them. So those are all connected. This is also going to daisy chain to the radiator. So we got all of our fans, radiators, all that on one single connection, which is nice. This is the actual case. Okay, so there you go. We're all connected. Now we can hit P and we should power on. That's good. Nothing's smoking. There isn't smoke in the game. We should add coolant to the loop. Otherwise, the CPU is going to get quite warm. So let's jump in and go into coolant. And let's get some coolant in there. Maybe we'll have to do cyan opaque. I feel like I'm kind of committed to cyan at this point. So sorry if it's your least favorite color ever. So that'll go ahead and fill the loop just like we designed. We got reservoir going to radiator, radiator going to CPU, and CPU going back to the reservoir. Oh yes, the cooling arch. It's strong, I think. I think we did all right. Honestly, those are pretty decent straight bends considering I had no snapping. No angle snapping. So the red is a little clashy, I'll be honest. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get everything set up. We're going to get our OS installed. We're going to get some programs installed, do a little bit of testing, and do some benchmarking, and we'll see how we do. All right, so we got everything installed here. We're set up. We're going to quick benchmark. This is just at stock settings with I set the XMP profile, so the RAM is running at 4,800 megahertz, which is pretty nuts. There you can see 4,800 megahertz. So 26,884, 30,097 from the graphics, and 16,751 from the CPU. So we could actually overclock that to bring that up a little bit more. And I think I have some settings I know that it should be pretty stable, so we could even check that out a little bit. As far as temps go, 73C max on the CPU, so we got a little bit of headroom there. And then GPUs are only at 60C, and the power draw 875 watts. I know I can do some overclocking to get the power draw over 1200 watts and get our 3D Mark score a decent amount higher, almost 1,000 points higher. That's probably more of a conservative overclock. So I'm going to do that quick, and I'll kind of talk through what I did, and then we can check that out. The bit of overclocking, we brought our score up to a 27,573. So it's a decent bump there. We got 30,848 on the graphics and 17,218 on the CPU. So on the graphics, we went ahead and bumped the core voltage to plus 20%, so 120% of core voltage. Core clock, I just did 125. We threw 400 on the memory. This is still pretty conservative. You could push this a lot more if you wanted more. I just figured it'd be fairly safe. And then the CPU, I basically gave it 1 megahertz of clock. And that allows you to push the RAM further by increasing the clock speed. You wouldn't want to change the multiplier. That won't help you get the RAM up. But RAM speed really does help these 3D Mark scores a lot. So just to show you, just through 1, it's all I could get to be stable. I'm sure you could bin out your CPU and find one that you could push harder. I'm not going to do that because it's super, 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 super time consuming. And because I did that, I was able to push the RAM up from 4,800 megahertz, which is with the XMP setting, to 5,050 megahertz. And then I brought the RAM voltage up to 1.6 volts. So that is how you can do that if you want to get a little more juice out of your super 8K gaming machine. But back in the OS, we should probably go ahead and get our lighting fixed, right? Because this is an absolute nightmare mess. So let's go in here. We can jump into the lighting app and just make sure it looks nice. I don't know what looks nice with teal, cyan, pink. Oh man, it's like hotline bling or something. What is this? I don't even know what this is. You like it? You don't like it? Okay, cool. I love it too. Awesome. So now we can put our front panel back on. It actually is nice because it tones down the lighting intensity a little bit. We've got our top glass panel to go up over the radiator up top. We can do our 2 side panels, the one around back and the one around front. And there you go, a completed super ultimate 8K gaming machine featuring the Ryzen 9 16-core 5950X and 2 RTX 3090s running an SLI. Completely insane. And actually, we stayed under 10 grand, so that's pretty amazing. But there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys enjoyed this series. And if you guys want to see more of this series or any of the other content series, be sure to subscribe to the PC Building Simulator YouTube channel. And as well, feel free to check me out on my own YouTube channel. And either way, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. See ya.